Hi, Kristin. Let's take a look at your newest set, shall we? All right, so reasons and solutions for pollution. Let's see. Nowadays, more and more people move to large cities, and in a way, this seems to be inevitable as one must live in a place where it is possible to earn a living. This unfortunately results in cities being more polluted than ever before. Is this an irreversible effect, or could any strategy help us to stop or pause the pollution process? Okay, I really liked this. Obviously, the language is very strong, as it always is with you. What I don't love is your question here. Um, we can pretty much understand that you're going to address whether or not it is reversible. Okay, but I don't feel that this is really covering what the task has asked you to cover. They want to know the reasons and they want to know if it can be solved or how it can be solved. So rather than writing this question here, it would have been better if you had addressed these questions head on. So instead, you could have said something like, there are multiple reasons why pollution has become such an issue. However, solutions are available. Really, that simple. Just addressing, yes, there are reasons, it can be solved. Okay. So that's how you want to do this. Um, Again, it's just a matter of having a very focused response. Okay. That, this is what I'm going to talk about, and I'm making it, completely clear. Let's see what you wrote. Let me just increase the size of this. Give me a second. Bear with me. Nope. Let me try that again. Ugh, there's a better way to do this, really. Okay. Okay, great. So, generally speaking, there has been a trend, but a trend of urbanization for several dozen years. As mankind has become better and better in production, people tend to feel like they must own everything, and life needs to be as easy as possible. Owning, not leaning. What do you mean leaning? I don't understand that. What do you mean? Has become an indicator of wealth. Do you mean like lending, like that kind of lean? It's awkward though. This phenomenon is unenviably sad because this results in producing more belongings than ever before, and overproduced things will just be thrown away. Because of this, Earth is becoming frustratingly polluted, and this, of course, results in serious health risks for people. But not less importantly, it results in climate changes. Okay, you wanted to say change singular. Um, this started okay, but still you're not developing it in a way, um, in an appropriate essay way. Because remember, what are we asking you? What are the reasons for pollution? Okay. You told us, you started here talking basically, it sounds like consumerism or over consumerism. And then you say they'll just be thrown away. Okay, it's becoming polluted. Why? So explain to me why. That's what I'm missing here. You're going into this analysis of materialism and consumerism, but you're not really giving me whys and why this is polluting the earth. Okay. So what I would have liked is maybe a little less of all of this, things like this. Owning has become an indicator of wealth, which is kind of irrelevant, really. I mean, we're not talking about this entirely in this essay. So just something really focused, like there has been a trend in urbanization. As mankind has become better and better in production, um, you could have also said, and wealth is increasing. There is a trend towards materialism and overconsumption. This overconsumption also leads to many items no longer needed or wanted to be discarded when they enter landfills and other waste disposal sites. All of this material seeps into the earth, affecting groundwater, affecting soil, etc., leading to polluted cities. So do you understand? The way I'm explaining this, it feels like a chain. So when this happens, this occurs. And when that occurs, this is the result. Okay, so it shows development and it shows the why. Why is this a problem? When we overconsume, why and how is this a problem? So that's what's missing for me. Earth is becoming frustratingly polluted. Why? How is this happening? So, do you understand? Less kind of theoretical prose and more focused response. Whenever you state something, okay, like owning has become an indicator of wealth. I thought this was irrelevant, but again, it's the kind of statement where the next question is why? Do you understand? And again, link it to pollution. So, I would have gotten rid of it. I already told you that. But here I would have just said that this leads to overconsumption, and then things are discarded, and then this disposal is what leads to pollution. Okay, bringing it back to this and then explaining it. Right here, results in serious health risks for people. Really? Why? What are these risks? Okay, so I needed to be more focused, Kristin. Okay, and that's probably the best suggestion I can make for you. When you write something, or when you have some sort of a theory or an idea, at the end of that sentence, ask yourself why. And if there is an answer that is relevant to the question, then you definitely want to include it. That's going to help your development. If the answer to your why does not help, does not answer the question, then maybe you need to rethink the idea. Okay? All right, let's see. We are at a point which needs changes that cannot be delayed. All right, it's a little awkward. We are at a point which needs changes that cannot be delayed. All right, yeah, and I feel it's a little awkward because of all these relative clauses, which needs changes. That cannot be, it just felt a little strange. I think it could have been done maybe a little more naturally. We are at a point when change can no longer be delayed. Done. Okay? Or we are at a point where change can no longer be delayed. That would have been maybe both effective and clearer. Various strategies have been discussed, proposed, and implemented globally. For example, there are strategies on popularization of public transport without the A. In the capital city of Estonia, Tallinn, the public transport is free for all the locals. Moreover, if one still decides to buy an electric car, government will compensate a large part of the cost. Because of these measures, there is definitely an effect on some reduction of the pollution. This is only locally, but bigger changes start with making a small change. Okay. How can this be solved? So, okay. So here, this was good in a lot of ways, but I kind of felt like your whole paragraph was essentially this one example of Estonia. And what results is that it felt kind of weak in terms of ideas. Remember, how can this be solved? So you have to answer that question really head on. We are at a point where change can no longer be delayed. Various strategies have been discussed, proposed, and implemented globally. So you could have said something like, Estonia is one example that the rest of the world could follow in order to reduce pollution. And then you could say, in Tallinn, the capital city, public transport is free. This results in lowered emissions, okay, lower fuel emissions into the environment. All right, again, explaining to us, how is your solution a solution? Okay, it's really important. It's not enough to just say that something is a solution. You also have to tell us in these essays how the solution solves the problem. Okay? And then here too, you could have said this. This too results in lowered emissions, etc., etc. And then you could have had this sentence. So, of course, your writing is very nice. We've talked about this repeatedly in the essays you've sent, but you need to focus on focus, essentially. Okay? All right. Let's see. To conclude, I think that no, you didn't write population, you wrote pollution. Sorry. To conclude, I think that pollution is a truly important topic and it must be taken into account in every decision that has been made, either on here you want an individual or global level. We cannot undo the things that are already done, but I hope there is a way to stop the cities from becoming more polluted. Okay, fine. So, in a nutshell, task achievement, focus. Okay, so there needs to be more focus on the questions, how they've been asked, and really just developing them away. Remember what I talked about, like the how, the why, and creating a link, creating like a chain in your ideas. Okay, this feels oddly short to me, but let's see what you wrote. The bar, we usually call it a bar chart. The bar chart illustrates sales in different countries of 3 different car brands in 1 year. Overall, in most countries, the total number of cars sold was less than 300. Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit. First of all, these zeros here means that it's not hundreds, it's thousands. So 300,000 is the first thing, okay? That's important because if you consistently refer to the hundreds, it's going to be inaccurate and that's going to lower your task achievement score. It's going to be impossible to get anything over a 5. That's the first thing. The second thing is that in our overview, we do not include numbers. All right, it's supposed to be a more global kind of comment. So for me, a global comment would have been that Hungary sold the most, Belgium sold the least, and BMWs were the most widely sold. Okay, so that shows main trends. All right, let's see what you did. BMW is the not most selling, highest selling car in France, Germany, Ireland, and Italy. Interestingly, Ford was by far the most popular car in Belgium, and at the same time, the sales of BMW and Audi were unremarkable. Of note, all countries sold Audi variously. I don't like that word. It was slightly more popular. Here you needed a semicolon. It was slightly more popular in Germany and Hungary. At the same time, Audi had only a small percentage of sales in the UK, and Italy. All right, there is no data here. And so that's a problem for me. Okay, we'll talk about it in a minute. Hungary sold the most cars from the countries shown in the graph, just below 400,000, followed by France. Total sales were similar in Germany, Ireland, and Holland, where the numbers were around 250,000. The fewest cars were sold in Belgium and Italy. Okay, fine. In summary, car sales, SALES, in 9 different European countries were variable across the car brand and total number of sales. All right, that's fine, but it probably wouldn't help your task achievement. It doesn't, it's a little too vague to help kind of counteract this overview. So I didn't love it. So let me tell you a little bit about this stacked bar chart and what I think could have been done with it. There's obviously an infinite number of ways to do a task 1 like this, but I do want to share with you some ways that I think are really effective. So we'll talk about them. The first thing that I would do, I already told you what I would have written for an overview, so we don't have to start there. Instead, let's talk about the body paragraphs, the detail paragraphs, and how I would have structured them. You have a ton of information here. Specifically, you have 36 pieces of information. So it goes without saying you will not talk about all of them, but there are certain pieces of information that are really important. And then there are other ones that you can group together in an effective way so that you cover them, but you don't spend unnecessary time focusing on them. Okay. So cover, yes, focus, no. So let's talk about it. The first thing that I would do is you did it in your second paragraph. I would not. I would have started there. I would have started from like this kind of global view, and then I would have gotten into the details. So I would have had a first paragraph talking about these totals. And this is what it would have looked like. The most cars were sold in Hungary at just under 400,000. This was followed by France at just over 300,000. In contrast, Belgium sold the fewest at under 100,000, followed by Italy with just over 100,000. Okay? The remaining the remaining countries sold between 200 and 270,000 cars. And then you're done. That's it. That's that paragraph. Then you get into the individual cars. Take a look at BMW, which, as far as I'm concerned, it sold the most. And if you look, you see these numbers along the side are super helpful. So BMW sold the highest number of cars across the 9 countries with approximately, and that's a really helpful word, 100,000 sales in all countries except for Belgium, where approximately 10,000 were sold or 5,000 were sold, whatever that number is. It looks like it's about 5,000. Or you could say a negligible amount were sold. Okay. And that's, that's a nice way of just kind of smooshing all this together. It's around, it's like, plus or minus, really. So you could say around 100,000 were sold, and then you're done with BMW. Then you go to Ford, where you can say Ford cars were popular in Hungary and Holland with roughly 130,000 sold. They were not widely sold in Germany and Italy with roughly 20,000 sold. The remaining countries sold approximately whatever that number is and whatever this number is. Okay? And then you can do something similar with Audi. Now, the one thing that I'm going to suggest to you is you wrote here the bar chart illustrates the sales in various countries. Now, a really good rule of thumb here is put in parentheses the names of the 9 countries. When you do that, you ensure that the names of the countries have been mentioned at least once. Now, I know a lot of examiners who consider this to be key features, the categories and the names of those categories. They consider these to be key features. And when you miss one of those key features, you will not get a score higher than 4. Okay. So they're pretty strict about this kind of thing. So you want to, just to be safe, I'm not telling you that every single examiner in the world views it this way, but the ones that I know do. So you want to mention every name at least once, and that's the easiest way to do it. Various countries, parenthesis, write the 9 names, and then you don't have to worry about it again. And then in your body paragraphs, in your detailed paragraphs, you can simply focus on the information that is important. Okay, so that's how I would do this. I hope that's helpful. I hope it makes sense to you. If you have any questions, if something doesn't really make sense, please, just send me an email letting me know what you have questions about. And yeah, I know your exam is coming up in a couple of weeks, so let's get you ready for it. Okay, good luck.